governor's line. We have Ed Bovee serving on the 28 Convention Committee on the Board of Directors. But we have been reading, your governor and I, this book. It's called The End of Membership as We Know It. So I'll pass this around. And what your governor, I love it when somebody gives me a challenge. And your governor gave me a challenge to take the learnings of this book and conduct a facilitation today with all of you so we can find out how to grow Rotary membership.
Now, who are the facilitators in the room? I saw the visioning table. Who are the facilitators in the room? Okay. Hey, Pam, can you get him this mic? Because he's got a question that he has to answer. So why is it important to do facilitation? To me, just standing up here and talking. Yes, engagement, that's right. As adult learners, we all learn better from each other. There's a lot of knowledge in this room, and we're going to pull that knowledge out. People like Newell Krogman up here in the front is going to tell us how to grow Rotary. So. Okay, Dave, I'm coming back.
Test.
I brought tennis shoes for a reason.
Okay, when you go to training, what do? They talk at you, right? What happens with facilitation? They ask you, they pull it out. Which one are you more likely to do? Something you came up with, right? Hence facilitation.
So what you're saying, Dave, is we're going to have buy-in from everyone. If they give us a good idea, then they're going to buy into it and we're going to get it done. Because it's no use to be here today if we're not going to learn something and actually go back and implement it. So, in this book, they talk about changing society and how things are changing and how we have to adapt to make them happen. So, our current membership model, if you take this book at factual basis, and I think it's probably true, but I want to know what you say, his argument is that our membership models are failing because they're too formal, they're too slow to adapt, they're focused on status or tradition, and they're not personally relevant or time efficient. How many think that's true? Raise your hand. Okay. And who wants to tell me why that's true? What they've seen in real life? Harold?
What?
Why is that true?
Is our membership model at risk?
Our communities are changing, and Rotary needs to adapt to our changing communities. We seem to have developed a membership for the 1950s businessman. We've not moved on from that.
So thank you, Harold, very much. How many of you do the Pledge of Allegiance like we did this morning? How many of you do the four-way test? Is that the typical? Raise your hand if that's a typical. Okay, yeah. Now, I personally like that. I like that tradition. You know, I'm a Catholic boy, and I like formality. But maybe some of our new clubs do it differently, and that's okay. How many club presidents do we have? Okay. So tell me, has any of you had the question, should we do away with the Pledge of Allegiance? Yeah. So, tell us about it.
We took a survey, and that was one of the questions on the survey, and that was, I don't remember the amount of people that said that, but there were a few comments about why we do it, and couldn't we leave that out? It was old-fashioned.
Thank you, Nancy. So remember what Dave said. Dave said we have to have buy-in. You know, I had a club president call me a couple years ago from my district. It's great because I can talk about my district and not get in trouble. So don't tell on me. But our university club, the president said, we have an issue. We have half the people. Can you hear me okay? Is it too loud? Okay. Half the people said they wanted to do away with the four-way test. And half the people in the club, the members, said we want to keep the four-way test. And all the eyebrows are going up, right? They can't even do that. That's a council and legislation thing that has to happen. But he said, what do? I said, take a survey. So smart to take a survey. Why do we take a survey? Because we get people's opinion. He took a survey, he called me back. It wasn't 50-50. 80% of the people responded. Only 2 people wanted to do away with the 4-way test. Everyone else wanted to keep it. They were just the vocal 2. Now, those 2 ended up leaving the club, but it ended up being a good thing. So if we can do a survey, and what's the best time to do a survey? Anytime? You know, that's true. That's true. How many clubs do a survey? Oh, that's great. That's better. 5960 does better than most districts. And what's the typical time you do a survey for those clubs that do? Early in the year, I like that. A lot of clubs wait to do exit surveys. I would suggest not to do an exit survey because at that time, first of all, it's too late to make a change to keep that member. And second of all, Rotarians are nice people. They might not tell you the real answer. But we do it. And we do it, how often do we do it? Jim will tell us how often you should do a survey.
I'm pretty new.
Jim's new, but he still knows the answer. How often should we do a survey?
One.
Over, okay, he saw 1 in a year. 5960 does it right. We do it once a year. Annual surveys. Why do we do it? Why do we do surveys regularly instead of just doing one and waiting 5 years to do it again? You have new members, that's right. The club culture is always changing. New members are coming in, old members are leaving. Yes, sir. Pam, can you give him the microphone? Oh, Fiona, can you? Thank you, Fiona. Fiona's from Uganda, and she's going to talk to us later because I'm going to call on her.
Regular surveys, because people will be visiting other clubs, new ideas and fusion of ideas and innovation can occur from that if it's on a regular basis.
How many of you remember Ed Koch, that mayor from New York? Yeah. What did he always say? How am I doing? How am I doing? You know, that's a kind of a survey. You don't have to, if you have a small club, you know, our average club size around the world is now 30. In 1996, it used to be 60, but it's 30. You know, you could just pick up the phone and call people and say, do you like where we meet? Do you like when we meet? Do you like our service projects? Do you like our socials? But it's important to get that because if people start drifting away from your club, it might be you're just not giving them what they want. But if you ask them and they have a good idea that the majority of the club wants to do, makes the club feel comfortable, they'll stay and they'll ask their members or bring their family members, that kind of thing. Yes, sir. Thanks, Fiona.
Does anybody else?
Does anyone do push surveys?
Can you please use the microphone?
All right. So in our club, we do what we call push surveys. This isn't unique to us. This is a marketing tool. People have been using this for decades. So in the case of a push survey, the question is intended to convey information. The answer to the question is irrelevant. We don't really even track the answer sometimes. I ask a question like, you know, did you know something? Or which of these 5 initiatives are the most important to you? And the idea is I want people to know about the 5 initiatives. I don't really care what the importance is because we're going to do them all anyway. You know, answer, great. Don't answer, that's fine too. But if you read the question, you're getting the information. So we're using surveys not just to get feedback and input from members that we do use, but we're also using it to push information out to the members sort of in disguise as a survey. Because if you just tell people stuff, they don't read it, myself included. But if there's a survey, people, it's, you know, the gamification of sharing information. People think it's a fun thing to do and they want their opinion known, so they respond, or at least they read it. So we're finding that's an effective way of getting information out in a kind of left-handed way.
So I love these facilitations because I get to learn too. So Paul has a good thing, the push survey. I think that's very interesting. So if we feel like we are too formal, too slow to adapt, too much steeped in tradition, you know, what we could do is we could do the survey that Nancy brought up. We could find out what our members want, and then we could give them what we want, what they want. If we give them what they want, they'll be happy. So, and you know, it has to be relevant to them. So how many of you are fundraisers in the room? Any of you? Okay. Joe, tell us how fundraising's changed over the last few years.
It's donor-centric. We ask what's important to the donor, find out their values, and then match that up with what's important in our organization.
So the average giver would give 5, 6 years ago, would give to 7 or 8 charities. Now they only give to 4. They want to give, charities that matter. But we have to be hyper-focused on what they want. For our membership, we have to be hyper-focused on our members and find out what they want. And if they're not happy with the club, we can maybe find out another club that they can fit into. We can't just think our club is the only club in District 5960 or the only club in the world. They might have time commitments. They would rather do an e-club. So you got to think about those things. So why people no longer join the way they used to. So Newell, can we give Newell the mic?
Test.
For your entertainment, we're going to do the mic juggling. Newell is a blessing to 5960. Newell has taught me so much over the years, from council and legislation to all the work he does with One Summit, which used to be One Rotary Summit. And I know he knows a lot about membership. And I know he knows that people don't join the way they used to. So why is that, Newell?
Isn't it on? Yeah. Part of it is our society, people aren't joining groups. That's part of what it is. A lot of it's just they don't want to be committed to routine. They want to just do whatever they want to do when they want to do it. Maybe that's part of it. What is that enough of?
Yeah. So Newell's right. People want something different than they used to want. It used to be in the 50s, people go to a meeting. They wanted that luncheon. They wanted that breakfast. They wanted to see their speaker. Nowadays, folks really want action. They want impact. And they really want impact right away. They want to do those service projects. So we need to ask ourselves, is there something we can do in our current clubs and in new clubs to make a difference? So my club, we meet at a country club, 7:30 every Tuesday morning. I love it. I love seeing my friends. I love doing our service projects, even picking up the trash along the highway. But maybe my son doesn't want to pick up trash along the highway. Now he does it, but he might want to do something different, like work for the environment. So we can be flexible. My club this year has decided to have Rotary in the workplace because we pay $800 for food 4 times a month. But if we go to someone's place of business, that Rotarian gets value out of that because they get to show their business. Or we go to a nonprofit that we support and we do a service project there. Maybe that's what they want. And if we do the surveys like Nancy said, then we'll get there. Does anyone have an example of that in their club, how their club's changing? Yes. Can you get him the mic?
Hi, my name is Joy. I used to belong to the Janesville Club in Wisconsin for 20 years. Well, maybe 15. So what we did at the end, about the last 5 years, every month, like members who had businesses, like he said, or nonprofits could sign up. And then, just like he said, they bring lunch to that club, and they would offer like 3 options. Once a month, you visited. So then they bring food to those 3 locations. So you sign up so they know 20 people will be here, 20 people will be there, 20 people will be here. And it was fun to get to know what the other folks were doing. So I think that's a good way to spice up interest.
And it's interesting. I think you're absolutely right. My club did it to save money, but the reality is, yes, we did not spend $800. We spent less than $80 for coffee and donuts. But they engaged. They did things. They could post things that said, we packed food for those who are in a food desert. So thank you. Janesville's where they have the Oscar Meyer Wienermobile, right? Wisconsin.
Club, we had two. We had two clubs. I was Janesville Noon. There's also Morning.
Okay.
I don't think that was a project, but we did corn. Every summer we did corn and gave it to the whole community. So
Nice.
that was
nice,
the big thing.
Nice. Okay, so we want to have flexible arrangements. Maybe you don't have to meet 4 times a month for a business meeting. Maybe you can meet 2 times a month. We want to provide immediate impact. Again, those service projects, local or international, that's immediate impact. And we want to be inclusive. Yes. We have some knowledge in the room right there.
I'm from Hudson Daybreak Rotary, and I just wanted to share one of the things that a president 2 years ago started doing was showing the people of impact. So each week at the meeting, she used a lot of pictures of what had been happening in the previous week to show what members were doing and gets people excited. They kind of like to see their picture up on the screen, kind of get recognition for what they did, and they get excited. And I think that's made that immediate impact.
I love that. And actually have some of the people who you serve, are they invited back to the club? Do they get to join the club? You know, that kind of thing?
Yes, always.
Oh,
Always.
that's wonderful.
Absolutely.
Wonderful. And speakers, too. Speakers are a good source of members. If they come speak, you might want to ask them to join. You know, you give out grant dollars and things like that. Rotary was once a place where community leaders convened. Now leadership is networked, distributed, and often digital. You know, when we do surveys, it seems that digital is important. How many of you are in the computer industry? IT?
What?
How can we use that technology to make our Rotary clubs grow, make it more interesting to the general public?
Well, we, at our club, we put our meetings online for COVID until recently. And then now more people just come in. But, you know, that's always an option. And then, you know, instead of coming to the meeting, someone can just join online from wherever they are in the world.
You know, it's great that we have these clubs, and our clubs that meet in person, they're the backbone of Rotary. But there's new formats for clubs. We have e-clubs. So someone who maybe meant they have to change their job, but they don't want to leave Rotary. Does District 5960, Governor Glenn, do you guys have a district-wide e-club? Okay, so governor says no, but you know what? The governor's working on making a district-wide e-club. Yeah, because Glenn, can you give Glenn the microphone? You think about it, people have to leave. You know, David Newman was in Stillwater Sunrise, and now he's moved out of state, right?
Yes. Yep.
Who's in Hudson Daybreak? Okay, sorry. David was in Hudson Daybreak. It's not my district, sorry. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So anyways, if someone leaves a club, we don't want to lose them from Rotary. So if District 5960 starts a district-wide e-club, you can get those people. So when they leave, all the presidents, again, who's the presidents? You can say, Mary Haugen can say, oh, I'm sorry you have to leave Prior Lake Rotary, but you know what? We have a district-wide e-club. And you know what else you can do? You can appoint a few people to go back the past 5 years. Do you guys use Club Runner or DACDB?
DACDB at the district.
You can go through DACDB and call all the people who left Rotary and say, I'm sorry, Sally, why did you leave? Oh, well, I had a work commitment. I couldn't meet, but maybe she wants to join that e-club. Maybe our youth exchange students, maybe they want to join the e-club after, they go back. Because it's an e-club, they can meet online. It doesn't cost a lot.
I'll do the good leadership and delegate. Ed Bovee, past district governor, is head of our new club formation team, so team of one.
I can't wait to come back to 5960 and see what Ed did. Oh, he's got the thumbs up. A round of applause for Ed for starting the District 5960 e-club. That's awesome. Okay, the generational disconnect. It's funny because a lot of times I get calls, what do we have to do to get young people? What do we have to do to get young people? And since I'm not so young, I'm 58, I'm always like, well, what about us? You know, some of us are retired, we have resources. We have to go after everyone. But it's interesting, at our all-member survey that we did in Rotary International, first time this past year, we took the areas of the world. Rotary kind of divides things up into the Americas, North and South America, Europe and Africa, and India. And we took the average age, and in areas where, let's say, Rotary in Great Britain and Ireland, they're declining a lot right now. Their average age is 72. You know, in Africa, the average age is 40. So can you tell us about Uganda? Tell us about the average age in Uganda for Rotarians and Rotaractors.
Well, there's different categories, like there's Rotaract and Interact. So for like Interact, it's more like the teenagers. Then Rotaract, it's more like for the young adults. Then there's Rotary, which is like worldwide for all ages. So every age group like kind of has a bracket they fall in. But I would say most people are like 40 years and below.
The Rotaract clubs in Uganda are huge, like 300 members. And when you go there, they're playing the drums. They're all excited. They're standing up. They're yelling. They're screaming. And if they're not, the head of the Rotaract will tell you, boy, this has got a Rotary vibe. Which is an insult to us. But it's interesting how the ages, we're in the middle, and we're in decline. Yep. Oh, we only got 5 minutes. Okay. So it's important that we try to get young people into Rotary. The way we do it is we actually, well, how do we do it? Rotaractors, tell us how to make a Rotary club attractive to Rotaractors so eventually you would go into a Rotary club. What do Rotaractors want at a Rotary club? Yes, sir. This is important.
All right. At our meetings, we typically do all of our volunteering there, so we don't like talk about our plans and then volunteer outside of it, because like our Rotaract club is at a university, so they don't really have time outside of our meetings to do stuff. So we'll make like tie blankets and we do stuff there. So we like to have all of our volunteering and stuff occur right then and there.
So you're like a walking Nike commercial. You just do it.
Yes.
And in our most successful club, our club, they just do it. They always have a service project. So we can change Rotary. We can adapt. And how do I know? Because we have a great foundation. We're trusted around the world. We have a proven impact model. We could talk about what we did for polio. We have infrastructure. Over 200 countries belong to Rotary, and we have great leaders. So that's all the time we have for today. But these are some questions I'd like to leave you with that we can think about. Thank you very much for the opportunity to talk to you, and thank you for teaching me things that I didn't know before. Thank you.
Well, he still has 3 minutes. He's trying to get out early. Any questions for Tom?
Absolutely. I've already sent to Glenn, and there's detailed notes on them too to talk about details. So, yeah. Thank you for sharing them. Oh. Here you go, Nancy.
So how many exchange students convert to be Rotarians if they've come as an exchange student?
We don't have exact data, but it's, and some of that is privacy issues. But we do, you know, our Rotarians who do youth exchange are the most passionate Rotarians that we have. They've been through the same things together, life bonding experiences. We have kept track of all our students, but we don't, as Rotary as a whole, we don't follow up well with youth exchange students, but we should. I mean, this is not just low-hanging fruit. This is fruit on the ground we could pick up. Because, you know, they had that experience. All these people that are scholarships, you know, the family members, all the people who know about Rotary, we need to transact with them. I mean, I can't tell you, there's been a dozen times I've been in a cab and somebody sees my shirt and says, oh, I got a scholarship when I was in Rotary, but they're not Rotarians now because we don't follow up. So we have to do a good job of asking. So we got to ask them, then we have to engage with them. We have to form new clubs that are flexible to make them fit in, and then we have to keep that club experience what they want by doing surveys like you brought up. Thank you for the question.
And I think, finish up there, the book is interesting, and the premise is that, and I think everybody's the same, right? Doesn't matter the age, but us boomers and our parents, we were just raised in an environment that encouraged, it was natural for membership association, but Generation X and Y, which is also millenniums, are different. And it said what they want leadership opportunities, learning opportunities, and feeling like they're making a difference. And so Rotary, I think, offers a lot of that. So it's just making our model forefront with those things, not coming and eating and listening to a speaker like Tom mentioned. So, well, thank you, Tom. Round of applause. Okay, well, keeping with the member idea, because I don't remember if I said, but over my 54 club visits, I talked about half the boards. And the first question I asked is, what keeps you up at night? And of course, all but one club said membership. One did say foundation, Margie, so hopefully their money's coming in stronger. So in keeping with this whole thing, I've asked 5 people from different Rotary clubs to be part of a panel on membership. So if you guys please come up and share in the front. So these are individuals that come from clubs that are making progress in the area of membership. If you saw my official visit, I showed the graph, 16 years of that slope of membership in the district, and I did it for every club. And so I looked at those and said, here's some clubs that are at least not going down like this, like too many of our clubs are. And so I asked them to join us today and share some ideas. So to start with, just introduce yourself and the club you're with.
Morning, everyone. Darren Adair with the Prior Lake Rotary Club and co-chair of our membership committee.
Robin Sims, also of Prior Lake Rotary Club and the other co-chair.
I'm Brian Fries from the Wabasha Rotary Club.
I'm Bill Mack from the Chisago Lakes Club.
Well, thank you for joining us here today, and they're all membership chairs in their clubs. When people speak of membership in Rotary, I think normally the focus is on recruitment, getting new members. And I think maybe we should change that focus a little bit. Getting new members is important, but I think we need to think about retention. As it's said in sales, it's a lot easier to keep an existing customer than it is to go out and find new ones. And it's data, and Rotary has data that says globally, within the first year of joining Rotary, 10% of people leave. Within 3 years, 50% of new members leave. So if we could stop that bleeding, our membership would be, much stronger than it is today. So what can we do? So I know these folks here have had different things, they got ideas, things that they've done that have worked, or things that they think we should consider. So Robin, what are your thoughts?
I don't know about anybody else, but all of us are kind of tired of sometimes hearing that we need to grow membership, right? That's the focus of a lot of our discussions in Rotary. But I think what we heard this morning so far is it's not just about where do we find the new members, it's about the membership experience and what are we doing. So, it's club experience and it's the onboarding process that drive that retention. And just from a club experience, we all have to look at our clubs and say, what does it feel like when we have a visitor? Is it old and stodgy? Am I sitting at a table and I feel like I've just sat in somebody else's pew at church? Or do I go to a club and they feel overly needy and overly welcoming, and I'm like, whoa, I'm not here to rescue you, but show me what it is why it is I should join. And that energy that we show as a club experience goes for existing members it impacts guests, it impacts our newest members probably the most.
So Brian, I know you've got some passionate ideas along this. Why don't you share some of those?
Justin. Trade you. One of the things that I identified early on prior to being president was, and we talk about the exchange students and we talk about Rotary International, we talk about Rotarians. Historically, Rotary clubs are a group of old white men. No offense to those present, but that was one of the things that I identified early on. And one of the ways to change that is to get some younger members, more diverse members. And one of the ways that I did that was to take the meetings and make them more dynamic, more fun. I added, and I don't remember if this was organic from me or if I got it from some other Rotary club, but we have the 5-way test. And the 5th is it fun? Having dynamic guest speakers, having dynamic meetings, you know, not just being a lump on a log. So that was one of the things that I think is important. And our current president now is also having fun and has dynamic meetings and has dynamic guest speakers. So.
Well, I'll let the teacher in me come out first. I want to ask, who is from a club of 35 or under members? Okay. Who is in a club in a community of, say, less than 10,000? That's where I'm coming from. Okay, that's Chisago Lakes. Chisago, Lindstrom, and Center City. We have a smaller club. We've done a good job, and I'll explain later when we talk about recruitment, but we've done a good job on recruitment, and I said to the board, I want to spend the next year on retention, okay? So we're actually looking at that, and I'm interested in ideas. But what I've done as the chair of the membership committee is when we get a new person, I actually do a one-to-one either before they sign up or after. We go over maybe the most important thing to a new member. What have you done lately? What have you got going on? And what are you doing in the next year and a half? Those are the most important questions for a person coming in. When I sit down one-to-one, I can ask them, I can find out where their passion is, the things we have going on, the things we're excited about, the things we're passionate about, where do they fit? Once I find out, I take and give their name to the chairman of that committee, that community service project, and I say, call them, get them involved right away. And that has been working for us real well. The last time we had an event in October, and I'll explain that later, within about 2 or 3 weeks of the recruitment, I had the people out on a project working, and they were active right away. And that's the key, is to get them in right away. So we're looking for other ideas, but that right now is how we're starting.
One of the things that we talked about so far is that asking of people, the survey part, the talking to our new members, and it really requires us to actively ask and then listen to what people have to say, whether it's people who've been members for a long time, people who just joined, people who maybe were just guests, and you have to ask them what was your experience, because we don't always know really what's going through people's head. We make some assumptions. We make assumptions that young people don't want this or do want that. But until we ask all of our members and potential members, we really don't know.
I guess I do have something to say. If you are not proud of your club, why would anybody join? You have to be proud of your club. And if your club is not something that's making you proud, then you have to figure that out before you can recruit a member. And the second thing is you have to be enthusiastic. If you aren't enthusiastic, nobody's going to listen to you and nobody's going to come. So you have to get out and you have to talk up your club. You have to be excited about what's going on, and you have to convey that to the people you meet.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and that's so important. It can happen anywhere. And just to expand on that, who's from the St. Paul Mendota Club? Anybody? If you get a flight attendant who joins your club in the near future, let me know. Because I was flying to California wearing this. And she's like, I was an exchange student years ago. I've relocated to Minnesota. Where can I join? Because I want to be a part of it. And it was that simple, because I was wearing Rotary wear. I was excited about Rotary and was able to share. I actually, used that really great Delta Wi-Fi that you get, and pulled up clubs that were close to where she was and was able to find that club. So, it can happen anywhere. So that, Eleanor had a great point there. The other thing that you can do is, and Glenn talked about this at the beginning, we want to talk about that experience. We want to talk about retention, because it is one of the best ways, right? If our clubs are shrinking, it's not just new members coming in, it's those who are leaving. Doing a mentorship program, and this is not, somebody gets sponsored into your club, not having that person be their mentor, but have people from your club who are going to engage with that new member to help make them feel welcome, to help answer their questions, because we throw a lot of Rotary information at people at the very beginning. There's no way they're going to remember it all. So having that person who can be their friend, who can be their mentor, who can talk to them a little bit about their experience is going to really help them acclimate to your club, feel welcome, and then potentially stay beyond those time periods that Glenn was talking about.
One of the things we talk about in our club with retention, recruitment, and all of that other thing is information. And the membership idea, the mentorship idea, I think is great. I think the one-on-one that Bill was talking about is great. Our membership team came up with an orientation. And I kind of like to joke that it's a formal program, but it's very informal, because there's no agenda. There's no, there's nothing that we do that's on paper other than talk. It's a lunch, typically, 2 to 3 people, and we just talk. What are the expectations? What is it that Wabasha Rotary does? Here's all of the organizations that we promote, that we sponsor, and what's expected of you. And it's amazing, because all of us, we all know what the dues are. We all know what lunch costs, but new members maybe don't. And that's a really common question. And it's so obvious. How much are dues? When are they paid? When are we invoiced? Like, why didn't I think of that? But to further on the survey side of things, it's sort of a great way to interact with either new members or potential new members, because we use it if somebody's like, well, what is Rotary? Well, come to lunch and we'll talk about it. So the interaction part of it, whether it's one-on-one or in a group setting, small group, is a great way to not only engage new members, potential new members, and retain some older members.
Who does a potential member orientation before they sign the check? I think that's a critical thing to do. I've told this story many times, so you may have heard it already. I belonged to a club in Northeast Arkansas. We had 60 members. In 1 year, big push, and lo and behold, we had 90 within a year. 2 years later, only 2 of those 30 people were left, because they were just brought in as fresh meat and not knowing what Rotary was about, the expectations, the time, the money, all those kind of things. So I think that's a key thing to consider in your club if you want to retain members. Let them know what they're getting into.
The same thing happens with people who visit our club thinking that maybe they want to join Rotary for whatever, they were invited, whatever. And we had a recent guest who has known about Rotary. He was for a long time, and until he came to a club meeting and saw what we were doing and how engaged people were and what projects we were working on and our announcements and all the stuff, he had no idea that that's what Rotary was. He thought that was this very small part of what we are. And so that's really part of the thing is showing people in the club and outside of the club how we are relevant to what is important to them. And by being engaged, that's what's going to help our clubs maintain and grow.
So, Eleanor, we talked about doing club surveys. What's another method to find out what your members are interested in and what they're going to look like in 3 years? Hint.
Say again.
Club visioning. You're going to talk about that.
Well,
Okay, don't let Dave down.
one way of getting people involved, I guess, is to have a club visioning. We just went through that. And some of the new members were unaware of what could possibly be. And so that was a good time for us to find out, get ideas from people, things we hadn't talked about or hadn't thought about. So getting new members involved in visioning helped us to become a better club and help them to feel more involved.
I'm here to share one thing that worked for us on recruitment. Twice a year we have a membership social. We encourage our members to send me or send our committee prospective Rotarians. We contact those. We invite them to the social. It's on a Thursday night, twice a year from 5 to 7. And along the line, when people sign up, a couple times a week, I'll send out a note to all the Rotarians saying, look who's coming. Look at the new people that are coming. Look at the Rotarians that are coming. And over a couple of weeks, that list gets longer and longer once they see and recognize those names. So I think the last time we did it, we had 37 people there. And then what we do then is we have a fun event. Okay? When they come in the door, they receive a folder like this. The new members, their new prospective members. Inside here is a nice list of what we have done lately, what we're in the progress of doing, what we are going to be doing in the next year and a half. Like I said, the most important thing they want to know also is our due structure. Copy of that in here. Also, an application form and a pen to go with it. Okay. Also, other items in here that we feel they'd want to know right away. So after they've gotten this, got their name tag, well, I'll use the last one. Right next to it, I had a big tub of green goo. In that green goo, I had floating eyeballs, ping pong balls with numbers. So they had to reach in, grab an eyeball out with a number on it, and that corresponded to a gift bag they were going to get later. I did have gloves, okay? And then as they walked around the room, we had odds and ends like guess the weight of the pumpkin and things like that. But I think the biggest part was we had a little jar collecting cash. And if we got enough money, and we did, we get to wrap the president up in toilet paper like a mummy. And so the whole evening was like that until we had heavy hors d'oeuvres. Nothing big, but heavy hors d'oeuvres and beer and wine. But I think the thing that drove the membership the most was when I had the people get up and talk about the grant we're working on, the project we're working on, the people that were passionate about that, telling them about it, telling them what's going to happen. Not necessarily what happened last year, but what we're going to be doing in the next year so they know what to expect. I did bring about 20 of these as samples. I have them over here if anybody wants one.
Actually, we did something similar to that, and we did get people that came. However, we spent a lot of money, and I'm not sure that we got the return we were looking for. I go back now to a more organic method. Again, as I said, you need to be proud of your club and you need to be enthusiastic about it. And that enthusiasm will rub off. So what I do now is almost everybody I meet, friends, associates, neighbors, I talk about Rotary, but I talk about the projects we've done. I'll say, you know, we went over to bridging last week and we made 20 dressers, and it was so exciting because by the next morning, half of them were gone. And we worked with our high school youth, and they were crazy. We had to tell them how to use a screwdriver, but they were all over it, and they were so happy about it, and we felt so good about doing that project. Period. Let it sit. Come back a couple weeks later. We did a fundraiser. We raised so much money for scholarships, and we were able to send 5 kids to technical school. We were so excited about that. And then, after that said a little while, and if they haven't asked you what the heck is Rotary all about by then, invite them to a project. They don't have to be a member. They don't have to come to a meeting. Just invite them to come and do with you. And then maybe invite them, maybe there's a speaker that's really, really good. And you say, hey, we're having this speaker. He's going to speak on climate control. We'd love to have you come and just sit in. And just allow them to become acquainted with Rotary, because you have to think about what you would do. If somebody came up to you and said, hey, how would you like to join my great club? I doubt you're going to do it. But if you are given some information about what happens there, and then you're invited to come along and do that with them, slowly but surely you become acquainted with it and you may want to join. So I think rather than spending $500 on an event, although that may work for some people, I think that if every member of the club just talked up Rotary, we'd be in a good position.
So obviously we made the segue from retention to recruitment. And I'm in the same club with Eleanor, and just point out that the past year and a half, we've gone from 32 to 40 members, and it's because of her passion. And if you're like me, I'm not very good at the old thing we say, just ask. But Eleanor is good at it. So thank you for what you do. So
you could be good at it too, because I know you talk to people. And all you have to do is suggest that, you know, we did this last week.
But they run. They go the other way.
Keep going.
So, Robin, what works? What are ideas for you, and how do we get new members?
I want to tag onto something Eleanor said, which is really every member of your club is part of the membership committee. It's not just your club president or your club president-elect. It's not just your membership committee. It's every member. And I don't think any of us realize all of the places that we see or can talk about Rotary. And I'm just going to give you one example. I don't come from a Rotary family. I don't come from joining a service organization family. But I've talked about Rotary now for a couple of decades. I had a brother ask me, did you replace your church with Rotary? And I'm like, no, Rotary was just a way for me to live out my faith. But you just don't know, kind of like your kids don't know what you do for a living. Your friends, your family, your coworkers, these people in your professional associations, all of those people, your neighbors, they don't really know what Rotary is. And so you've got to be prepared to talk about that. And every member in your club needs to be prepared to talk about that. Darren mentioned wearing his Rotary stuff. It's not just people who maybe have had an exposure to Rotary. If they see the Rotary sunshade in your car, or your Rotary cup, or your Rotary shirt, or whatever it is, or the T-shirt for your event, it's tell me about what this Rotary thing is. It can be somebody who's never even heard about it.
Yeah, and just to go on with what Rob was saying and a little bit with Eleanor was saying, and you guys are getting a lot of ideas from us today. And I think, to Eleanor's point, and when they were talking, not every idea is going to be right for your club, right? Because we were all in different communities. We all got different sizes. There's things that are going to work for you and things that maybe aren't. And I know that we're going to be available if you like one of our ideas to reach out to us. But there are some great things that you can continue to do. And the pride in Rotary, I think, is a big part of it. And, inviting people to come, like Eleanor and Robin were saying, is a great way to share and tell the story. Because I think we need to do a better job of telling our story to the communities that we're a part of. And I don't know that we get understand the importance of a story. And I know, Tom, you were mentioning earlier, you asked about who is in IT. How many of you have one of these in their hands right now or in your pocket? Everybody put your hand up because I know y'all got one. This is the most powerful marketing tool on the planet because we all have them. You can connect with your community through very simple ways and telling your stories, letting them know they can come and visit a meeting, invite them to be there, learn about your community through this device, and invite some of those groups to come in and share what they do and see if there's a good connection. And maybe they can become part of your club. Maybe your club can do some sort of a project with them going forward. Right? There are ways that you can communicate simply, and you don't have to be an IT professional, trust me, to go on Facebook and make a post, because you all do it almost every day. My 80-year-old mother is on there way too much. I know it can be done. There's ways that you can bring people in, share your story, so they can make that emotional connection to your club.
And I'm going to take off of that a little bit too, because one of the things that I identified early on in joining Rotary is we have a spreadsheet that's 2 pages long of all the things that we donate to and support in our little tiny Wabasha community, 2,500 people. But we never acknowledged when we donated. We never took pictures. We never invited the donors in. And so that was one of the things that we did, is we have the big check. It's that big. And we take a picture, we put their name on it, and we put it on social media. We invite the local newspaper to write an article about it. And so that's one of the other things to go on what Darren's saying. I do a little bit on social media, not a lot, but guess what? We've got a younger member who's all over it. And I just very nicely said, if we give you the information, would you help do what it is that you do? And she said, yeah. So everybody on the board, all of our members, when we do things, we email it to this one person. They post it on social media. It's cheap. It's easy. And like Darren said, everybody's on it. Not literally, but there's a lot of people, a lot of that younger generation that we're trying to attract, they're on social media. And so utilizing that is a great way to not only get new members, but retain old members and to pat yourself on the back. That's the biggest thing. Get that big check out and pat yourself on the back, because we're all doing great things.
Who here has asked a person to join twice, 3, 4 times? Yeah. Don't give up. One thing I found over the past 2 years, we've recruited maybe 4 people that we've been asking for years and years. Things like, oh, my job is kind of busy right now. Or, now is not a good time. Don't give up on those people. Okay, I wore them down, literally wore them down, and they came to one of our events and they became a member. The other thing is, there was a lady that I was really heavily recruiting, used to be the chair of the Chamber of Commerce and ran for Congress at one time. And she said, well, why don't we sit down and talk? I'll bring my husband. I didn't get her, but I got her husband, because I knew if I had him, I'd have her too. So don't rule out that spouse that can make all the difference in the world.
So Eleanor, I mean, there's a big, like Brian even mentioned it, young people, we're target them. What's another age group that's worked for us?
Well, we are the people I'm looking for now, because we've tried the 20s and 30s, and they're just starting out. They're just getting set. They're so focused on their job and schooling and children. So the people that I kind of look at are people who are recently retired. People, they've stopped their life as they knew it, and they're looking for things to fill it. So this is a good time. Empty nesters, same thing. Now that's a little younger group, but their kids have left home and now they're looking for something to do. People who have just moved into your neighborhood are desperate to become part of the community, and this is a great way for them to do that. So those are kind of the people that I'm looking at. I'm also looking at all the people I play pickleball with, but that's a different. So just anybody, anywhere, really. But if you can get some sort of list of new people in the area, and you can do that through realtors, through the city, things like that, and call on them and just say, hey, I know you're new to the city. We want to welcome you. And I've got this great, opportunity that I'm really excited about, and I'd love for you to share it with me. That's the kind of thing that seems to work for those categories.
Well, that was well timed. Excuse me. One of the things that we've done in our club, because we're very fortunate, we have Lakefront Music Fest. We've been able to raise a lot of funds. People do some amazing things, and we did a special project, actually a signature project, and had a lot of fun with it to support something in our community. And we did something. It's called Spot/Stop. They just opened recently. We're actually got a meeting coming up there in a few weeks that we're inviting a bunch of people to. Because we have a special speaker coming, but being able to find something that's important to your community and developing a special project or a signature project that you can give time to give money to make something that's important, that's going to help your community, is a great way to build some recognition of the things that Rotary can do to impact positive change. Goes back to that kind of positive peace thing as well. And, we had a lot of fun with this. We had a bunch of people apply. We had a committee that kind of went through all the applications, found the ones that we felt were the best, got it down to, I think it was 6 or 7 different projects. And then we did almost like a Shark Tank or a Dragon's Den, depending on where you're watching the show. We didn't bring Kevin Leary in to be a part of it, but we had them present to not only Rotarians, but to the local community what their project was, why they were coming to us, and what they were looking for help with. And then the Rotarians in our club got to vote on the one that we felt was best. We ended up picking Spot/Stop. But it was a great way to show the community that we are taking this event that they are supporting and showing up to and giving back to our community in a way that's going to give them something that's going to help everybody. Well, just another way, and it doesn't have to be something that big. It can be a small project. It can be whatever works for your community.
We've talked a lot about where we recruit, and Darren's talking about then not just identifying the target, but really convincing them why they should join, making them want to join, not us having to pester them. And so part of that is telling our story, and I like the big check idea, but I also want to encourage you to do things more like what Darren is talking about with Spot/Stop, is not just telling the what. We raised this money or we donated this money, but the why. Why did we do it? Why is it important to our community? What good does it do when we've given this money to this organization? Making it relevant to our community members, making it be something that they want to be excited about and be part of.
Well, any final thoughts from any of the panel members?
A little bit of the, I don't know if I call it the elephant in the room, but you're looking at clubs up here talking that are vibrant, that are active, that are fun, and are doing things. It's not hard to recruit when you've got that kind of club, but if you have a club that isn't one of those things, and you're going out and trying to recruit people to change that, it's a whole different story and most likely a topic for another time.
Right. Well, thanks. We'll go to questions in a minute, but just on each table, there's a spreadsheet that you can put down your name, contact information, and maybe what you're interested in, because these panel members and then others will be available to, maybe not today, but answer your questions in some email or whatever else going forward. And there's also a sheet on the table, not enough for everybody, but it's got all the contact information for these panel members and for our next panel on satellite and companion clubs. Take a photograph of it if you need their contact information, because they're more than willing to help you with ideas and maybe help get you over some of the speed bumps of what you're doing. So now we'll go to questions.
Thank you. That's very interesting. And we're seeing that all clubs are losing members. And has there been any studies that have shown where those members are going? Are they joining a different venue or anything like that?
Oh. You know, we have this regionalization in Rotary where different things happen in different places. But what we're seeing is if you want young professionals, it's almost easier to have a satellite club. And that's a good question to transition to our next panel, because sometimes the younger professionals need to work during the day. They don't want to go to a breakfast meeting or lunch meeting, but they want to meet at a bar at night. They could decide whether or not they eat or not. And they don't have the cost of that fixed cost meal that you do at a country club or at a hotel. But the best thing to do is to, Nancy, what do we do? Nancy's gone. You ask them in a survey, you ask them where they want to meet. And they'll tell you, and then they'll have buy-in once you make that decision. So, but it's more flexibility and less formality is what they're looking for.
Can I add to that real quick, Tom?
Yes.
Just one of the things I know you mentioned earlier, and Robin chatted on a little bit, letting people know the different ways they can be engaged, right? Because a lot of people know about our meetings, and they think that's it. They don't realize all the different ways that they can be engaged in your clubs, whether it's the service projects or committees, or we do monthly 501s that are sometimes out of business or that kind of thing. There's a lot of different ways they can be engaged every month. It's not just coming to a meeting that may or may not fit their busy life schedule.
Building on that, Rotary actually has a thing called Rotary Community Cores, which is just a database you have for people in your community that really don't want to join, but they want to roll their sleeves up and help in weeding a flower bed or doing a food pack or whatever.
I'm with the White Bear Lake Satellite Club. We're called Northeast Metro Rotary. And I have a question. So we have a member who brings her daughter occasional, and the daughter's very excited. She's, well, maybe 20 years old, so maybe in college. And she asked, what does she have to do to be involved, to be in Rotary? And I was thinking, we don't really have an active Rotaract club, do we? I didn't think so, in the area. And I wanted to say you can join our club. Is there a rule about how old someone has to be to join a regular Rotary club?
18.
18. Okay. Thank you.
You got a new member. Any other questions before we take a short break?
Squeeze my way through here.
We've got a group of people here from the Northfield Rotary Club, and I think we're holding pretty firm at 150. I suspect that one of the big draws, and I'm wondering if the panel has the same situation, I'm suspecting that one of our big draws is the weekly speakers. We really work hard at gathering in talented people from around the community or around the state to weekly come and talk to us. And I suspect that we have gathered a great many members from that interaction that they had with speakers that just clicked in their minds. And I'm wondering if our panel has had the same experience.
I'm being waved at. I don't know if I'm being told to stop, but we have done this at a few different things, and I'm sorry, guys, I'm Canadian. I don't remember the guy's name, but on, I think it's January 27th, Mary, or 21st, we have the guy, is it Minnesota Bound? Yeah, who is coming to speak. We're actually changing our meeting to an evening meeting, and we've had him come before, an invited community, and the place is just packed to the gills, right? So speakers can definitely impact attendance. They can give you an opportunity to share more about what you do, and people can experience some of the things that they can get from being a part of it. So I do see that dynamic speakers can absolutely impact that.
The
I
thing we have-
agree.
oh, go ahead, Eleanor.
I agree. I was surprised to hear earlier that people might not want speakers. I think we've never had a problem. Um, People haven't spoken to us and told us, or our members haven't spoken to us and told us that, hey, this is really boring or we're not getting a lot out of it. We quite often go overtime with the speakers, talking about, asking questions and talking about things. And it's led to some projects that we've worked on as well. So I really think that's a dynamic way of keeping interest up and finding other projects and other ways to serve the community.
One of the things we have to remember is that Rotary can offer so many different benefits to our members. Part of it is staying connected with our community or being open to new ideas and learning about things. So part of it's that speaker program, or part of it's bringing in guest speakers, but part of it's for service. And sometimes we invite people and they come because they want to network and be connected and learn about the community, and they stay because of the service, or they stay because of the friends. And so we have to remember to try and do as much as we can to meet all of the needs of their members, even things that we didn't know that they wanted to do. Maybe it's opening up to the fellowship, the friendship traveling. All of those kinds of things are things that go beyond our club.
Yeah, 100%. And I think just one of the common themes you're getting from up here, everybody, everything takes action. None of this is going to happen if you don't do anything about it. If you just stay status quo and you don't do anything, nothing's going to change, right? So it does involve action. It does involve time and effort, but you don't have to do it alone, and you got people who can help you with it.
Well, we're out of time to keep us on schedule. Again, thanks everybody. Round of applause for our panel members. And if you have more questions, we got a 20-minute break coming up here. Look at the House of Friendship again, please. And if you have other questions, there's a spreadsheet on your table. Write them down, and we'll get them addressed in one way or the other. So be back, ready to start in 20 minutes. Okay, we'll start again. We got another panel talking about satellite and companion clubs. Rotary has data that says the way Rotary grows in districts is not by adding a few members to every club. We grow by adding new clubs. So this idea of having a companion club of some type is a way that we're growing. We've got 2 in this district already. I'll turn it over to this great panel we got and let them introduce themselves.
Yeah. Are we on?
Yeah.
I'm there.
I can hear you. Yes.
Hello. My name is Mark Berger, and I'm AG for Area 14, which is the furthest away from the district. I shouldn't say that. We're in Wisconsin, and you don't hear Wisconsin talked about too much, but Hayward is really the furthest northeast. But we have Hayward, Rice Lake, and Barron County Sunrise, Woodland Lakes. So with that, it wasn't, I'll just start. We'll introduce as we go. Is that okay? Okay. So with that, it was the last couple years here, being involved in the membership side. One of the newest members of the club is my new wife of 2 years now. We met after our spouses passed away and got together, and she's our newest member in Rotary in our club, and is really grabbed on. And we are the only couple Rotarians in our club, and I think we need to see more of that. But that's one idea. But with that, we started to redo in the membership side some things, and really grasped onto the companion. And Kathy will talk about that as we go. But the companion and satellite. In the past, we've heard of a satellite option, and the satellite option really is kind of morphed into a companion, as they call it, or impact. Call it what you want. So it's a term that has no intention of really becoming a standalone club. So a companion club really operates under the umbrella of a host club that sponsors it. Now, in the past, or to start a new club, it used to be 20 members to start a club. Now, to start a companion club, you can bring in 8 new members. 8 members is all it takes to start a companion. Okay? So this panel up here has gone through it in the last few years, Steve being the most elder of the companion satellite clubs. And a newest one in Claire and Kathy and myself, and instrumental in that. So it's really gives the flexibility, offering the flexibility to clubs that traditional Rotary settings don't have. We don't want to do the pledge necessarily, though we instill the 4-way test. But they're there to do service projects. It's a service project-based club. So with that, Kathy and I are at Barron County Sunrise, 7 o'clock, and it's a Barron County. We found that our county wasn't really represented in our club like it should be, and had the opportunity to go to Cumberland. And Claire will talk a little bit more about that as she's the chair over there. But in doing away with standard meeting obligations that we're all used to and have that same structure each and every week, really you meet maybe once or twice a month. And that could be a different time than your regular club meets. In this case, though, their club is meeting also at 7 o'clock, but it's in a community that has no other civic organizations but the chamber. So it was just a shoe-in to start that. The club really adopts its own inclusive approach to what they want to do. It's not told by the host club what to do. You're your own entity, but the members are tied to the host club. So you're still considered a full Rotarian. Access to My Rotary, all the different things within there. You still pay annual fees that cover district and international dues, trying to keep it down to maybe just the due levels, so there is no additional fees. Though I think as we start this next one, Kathy and I are working on the second one for Barron County. And by the way, I did ask Rotary International in the process, is there a club that has more than one? And they said within Rotary International, there's a club out there that has 4 companion clubs. Wow. So each of them might be in a different time of the day, might be a different focus or theme. So with that, Steve Griffith is here. He's the secretary of the Northeast Metro Satellite. And you could tell us more about you, Steve.
Sure. Great. Thank you. Can you hear me? Yeah, good. Yeah, thanks, Mark. I'm here as secretary of the Satellite Rotary Club of White Bear Lake, Minnesota, Northeast Metro. That's our formal name. We go by Northeast Metro. We have a club of about 22 now. We are, the senior only started for me in 2021, 22. We are chartered in 22. Essentially, the genesis of our organization came about by way of the membership team of the White Bear Lake Club, having conversations about what are the inhibiting factors that we find for people who we think should be part of our club but aren't. And as we talked about earlier, retention. Why are we losing members? And we have the chair of the membership team was Greg Bartz. I know he was here this morning. He might be right there. He is a dynamo when it comes to membership, and everybody knows that. But he was talking to a group of younger career professionals at about that same time. So we had a membership team meeting. We're talking about things like we're hearing that, gee, I can't meet at that time in every week. I can't meet every week. I can't really afford the dues of the Rotary Club.
I can't commit every week. I have a young family. I can't make those kinds of things. I'm interested in service, but I'm not really interested in fundraising. So we started talking about how could we create a Rotary Club that would address those issues. And through that conversation, we found that the Rotary did offer satellite clubs. Since about 2013, satellite clubs have been available to clubs. And so we started to explore that. It took us about a year of conversation with these young career professionals, with Rotary International, figuring out, how is this done? There wasn't a lot of information from Rotary International about how to start a satellite club. But in 2022, we did apply and we were granted as a satellite club of White Bear Lake. It's very important. It was important to us to get the support of the leadership of our club right from the very beginning. And we had conversations with the leadership. We ended up doing our own bylaws based on the Rotary International bylaws. And then our leadership of the White Bear Lake Club approved those bylaws. One of those bylaws says that we will have a member of the White Bear Lake leadership team on our leadership team. So we have a board of directors. Sherry Lee is over here. She's our current chair. The Satellite Club has chairs, not presidents. And Sherry is our chair for the last couple of years. And we're all available afterwards for questions, and happy. We have a table over there if you want to come over a little bit later. But we're trying to approach the questions that have come up today. Why aren't people joining us? Why are they leaving us? I'm going to turn it over to Claire.
I'm going to stand because I have a little bit of a cranky back today. So I'm the chair of the Cumberland Rotary Impact Club. I have to give a good shout out to both Mark and Steve because they really helped us get going, as well as Kevin Jacobson from the Rice Lake Rotary, BJ Williams, and Jason Safford from the Barron County Sunrise Rotary, ex-president and current president. I say focus on service, number one, fun, number two. That is what these young professionals want. We have a very flexible structure. We do meet at 7 a.m. twice a month. And then once every quarter, we try to meet in the evening for a service and social. Our next service and social is on January 15th. It's the hat and mitten replacement drive. Because who hasn't lost a hat or mitten by this time in the winter? So what we have is a light information about Rotary, do our service project, and then you can order off the menu or have a beverage if you wish. And we get at least one new member that way. Another big tip I think is important is to join the Chamber of Commerce if there is one. Half of our members are business people, either owners or employees, and the other half are retirees, but the Chamber really connected us. We had I think it was April 15th, we had a Business After 5 event, open house talking about Rotary, heavy hors d'oeuvres. We had 35, 40 people there. We got those emails and addresses, and then we had a convening meeting like a month later, and by June, the end of June, we had our 8 members and submitted our application. Now we're up to 18 members. Only 2 of those members have had previous Rotary experience. One would be me, and one would be somebody who had transferred to Cumberland from southern Wisconsin. Another thing I would do is contact your local nonprofits, because if we're talking service, those local nonprofits need, sometimes they need worker bees, roll up your sleeves and work. Sometimes they are looking for collaborative partners. And so in our case, that was Kinship and the Boys and Girls Club, because we really wanted to focus on youth and get them involved in our service projects and also instill that community service is part of our community ethic. We contacted the schools and the churches and the senior citizens groups. Again, now that they know about us, pick a project to start with that is really quick. Well, it's doable in a short period of time, because then you can get that out on social media and in print media, and then people find you. Because that's what happened with senior citizens. They have Meals on Wheels volunteer drivers. Guess what? A couple of them go south for a month or two. And so they're looking for replacement drivers. So we said, hey, I think, who could do that? And so we formed a couple of teams of 2 so that you're not having to do it every single day. You've already talked about social media. That is not me. I'm very untechy. But like someone else said, there was someone in our group that is very techie, and we have relied on that and connected our Facebook page with our host club Facebook page. I think they just posted some pictures yesterday of serving a dinner at the Rice Lake Benjamin House, which is a homeless shelter, on New Year's Day supper. I would not dismiss the print media either, because we do try to put a press release in. Cumberland is a town of about 2,500, but we try to put a press release in there about every 3 months or so about what we've done, what we're going to do. If you have ideas, contact us. This is when we meet. Come and join us. Also print media in posters around town. I know people are like, well, you're killing trees. But not everybody is on digital media, and I think we get pretty good traction. I mean, we're not printing thousands of posters. Maybe if we put up 6 posters around town, at the bank, at the post office, at the grocery. Making it fun, making it social. I think everybody could host a satellite club, because it has really reignited the fire of Rotary for me, and I think for our host club too. Thank you.
Just real quickly, when talk about the host club, our club really tends to be more of a check writing club. And I think there's a lot of older clubs out there. They do 1 or 2 fundraisers and they write the checks. This club, which is a part of ours, it's just, they decide to do a project, boom, they're on it. It's on social media. It's there, and they're fired up. It's a town of how large? 2,500. They had clubs in the past. So they had what was called, they had the Lions, Kiwanis, Gap, good, ambitious people. All of those went by the wayside. And now there was a chamber looking for help. So it was a shoo-in, and it's just easy, and they're getting so many compliments. So kudos to Claire and the group. So
I'm going to introduce Kathy Berger, and she's going to talk about retention.
Thank you, Claire. Oh, go on in a second. Okay, this one's on, so we'll work it. Yes, Kathy Berger from the I've been in Rotary about 3 years, Barron County, Sunrise, and Rice Lake. And I have to say that after I it was really because of my husband, Mark. I think I had been from the beginning of my adventure in Rotary, and I had the privilege to know more about the district, about International Rotary, because he was living that, right? He knew that. And so got involved, became the membership chair, co-chair with Mark last year for our club. And I think that's what opened my eyes to this opportunity. I think that more maybe Rotary clubs need to take a good look at, because the companion club or satellite, I like to call it a companion club. I think of it as more, I don't know, just more loving. I don't know. This is something that I think we think about. So we moved to Shell Lake, and we have a home on Shell Lake, which is in Washburn County, not Barron County, where our host club would be, but we're a little farther out. And I thought, and we had a lot of great friends that we met that we were talking about being just retired maybe, or just, empty nesters, or just looking for service. They want to be there. They want to help us. They want to help people in their neighborhood. And I thought, I'd like to keep it in my neighborhood. I mean, I think I was being a little selfish thinking that, but I think that we all have a passion that drives us, and it's the people we know, right? It's who we meet and how we get there. So let's think. So for me, it was an awakening. I think the companion club was like, oh, well, that'd be kind of cool to have in Shell Lake. Or as we brought it to the club, and then Claire and then Cumberland came, and it was like this wave of, it's just excitement. And so anyway, we are pursuing this now, and actually in Shell Lake with this additional companion club, and we have our second meeting coming up. So someone else is hosting it. So we're thinking that it's not official yet, but we have some great interest. So let me I'm just going to close with just a quick list of why maybe it's time for you to consider a companion or satellite club in your area. So the first thing I think of is clubs need a boost and some new ideas to serve, right? And so sometimes we're just always doing that same thing. Create a different gathering time for those that maybe can't make it. A place for non-traditional meetings, socials, and volunteerism. Leadership development. Think of the power that Rotary brings to us. Even if, you're not a full, in the official Rotarian role, you have access to that, right? As a companion club, we would have access to all of that. Greater gathering for your community, a greater impact for your community, an alternative socializing way for daily businesses instead of daily business. A partner with other small town civic groups. Maybe, like, for example, we have Kiwanis that the Lions that we have in our small town, and we talked to them first and said, hey, we're looking at maybe doing this Rotary Companion Club. We'd love to partner with you. So anyway, and then different programs may be offered to us as well, including like the insurance that comes with Rotary for our clubs, and then different programs, maybe introduce Strive or bring in the grants and all the foundation and all the things that are there so that we can utilize that. So it's exciting to start.
Yes. So with that, we'll open it up for questions.
One quick, for the Rotary geeks in the audience, a technical thing. Rotary has two types of charters, a regular club and a satellite. And like Northeast Metro, they got their charter before Rotary adopted this new vernacular. Helps some definition. A satellite club has a parent club still, but they have the intent of becoming their own club someday. Because you can start that with 8, and it takes, 15 to be a club. So that's there. But a companion club, which I think is an easier sell to your own club, is they're always going to be part of you. So they're part of your club membership numbers that are reported to Rotary. So it's just like they've said, a way to expand the reach, get people involved that may not have the opportunity to do it other times. Yeah.
And with that, Glenn, you have to understand that some people might find in doing a survey that, hey, the 7 morning thing isn't for me anymore. Let's do a 5:30 in the afternoon in the companion. So it might be, you're not like you're losing members. They're still in your club. And the older membership needs to understand that these new people coming in, they are a part of the club, period. Even though Cumberland is off to our distant about 15 minutes, they're still allowed to come to our club meetings, come to our socials, and be involved with us. So we hope there's not the issue of older members thinking that, gee whiz, this new club, we don't want to have anything to do with them. No, you need to grasp it, and it needs to be a part of the whole team.
So we got time for a couple questions.
Joshua Lee, Lakeville Rotary Club. Several years ago, our club started a Rotaract club, and I think for many of the same reasons that you might start a companion club. I'm just wondering logistically, how do those two types of clubs differ, and why might a club decide to go this route as opposed to starting a Rotaract club?
Well, I think the Rotaract really is meant for younger business people starting out maybe in their 20s or 30s. I can see this more as if they don't want that traditional meeting. But what a key thing to do, Ashok, where's Ashok? He talked about Rochester starting a younger companion club, tying it to your club, interjecting that energy from the younger people. If the Rotaract standalone isn't going to work, I think it's a way of tying it in and combining the two. It's flexibility. That's where the neat part Rotary is leaning towards. We need to know that we can be flexible to new members. The attendance has gone by, the classification kind of pushed to the side. We all want to have the different entities involved, but it's not like it used to be. So make it flexible.
One more question.
Hi, everyone. I'm Ruth Watkins in the Woodbury Club, and I'm a veteran AG. So kind of saw all the activity of the White Bear Satellite Club and believe in it. So I did a lot of research. We have this thing called My Rotary, and there's like a learning center. Do we all know about that? And there's wonderful resources. Glenn, kind of a question to you and to Tom, that there are wonderful resources under the title Satellite, but companion is somewhat a new word even to me. Is that yet again another subset in the Learning Center?
Yeah, you can.
Yeah, let me just jump in here. If you go to Rotary International, My Rotary, there is a page on satellite, and there's also a page on companion clubs. So a companion club is a subset of satellite clubs, essentially. The satellite club was originally designed as a club that would spin off at some point and be its own club. The language of the Rotary International is still that it's an optional thing. Our club has talked about this. We talk about it once a year. Do we want to move away? And our club members are saying, no, we enjoy being part of the White Bear Lake Rotary. It's a good partnership. It's a healthy partnership. And there are a lot of White Bear Lake
So a satellite club can continue to exist into infinity.
Exactly.
It doesn't really matter. Is really what you're saying. And then the companion club too is the 8-member requirement.
To start, yes.
Okay. And then seemed like I had another question.
And that
I just think we have to also know that Learning Center has so many good basics. As we look into this, I encourage everybody to look at that. We don't have to start our own band. Right? Okay.
Yep. Well, let's thank this panel.
Can you do one quick question?
Okay.
I'm KK from Wabasha. Regarding these companion clubs, what's the one spark that you think is necessary to keep it vibrant?
Passion, I think. Oh, the passion that we see up front, and I think that's the spark. And I think, yes, you need to nurture them just like we nurture each other like we do in any club, right? And so I think You have to make sure that people are excited and engaged and know about their passions, right? What makes them excited too. So,
And I would also say critical mass. Critical mass. You know what? That's why we need those 8, so that it doesn't just a flash in the pan and burn out.
Okay, we're running a little behind now. Brain power in this room. Hello. There's a lot of brain power in this room and a lot of experience. And we learn sometimes from just sharing. So we're only going to have 10, 15 minutes at each table. And I'd like you to share with each other, from these membership conversations and presentation by Tom Gump, what may have resonated with you? What are some things you might try to do in your club going back? And, what are some of the things you still think as challenges? Because you can help each other. That's what we do in Rotary. It's not just people that we call experts or district governors that don't know a whole lot coming up here. But take about 15 minutes and share. There's no reporting. It's just to try to learn from each other. Well, we always hate to interrupt great conversation, but if you want to leave at 12:30, we're going to have to close it off in the next 60 seconds, please. Share that last great idea. Well, I know a lot of clubs are already involved in helping feed their neighbors. Food security was the main theme of our conference last May, and we're trying to continue with that momentum and come up with ideas. We all know that it's challenging for many people to feed their children, access good, healthy food. And I thank the clubs that are already doing something like that, and please continue with the effort. I think we all know who Second Harvest Heartland is, and they were in a breakout at the conference last year. And I've been invited Maddie Archibald to come and talk to us a little about what's the current status, what are the needs that are out there, maybe ways that we can help address those. Yeah, there's raising money and packing food, but are there other things out there we can do? So Maddie is born and bred Minnesotan, growing up in various suburbs of St. Paul before settling in Blaine with her husband. So Blaine Ham Lake, there's a potential new member. And she attended and graduated from Minnesota State University in Mankato with a plan to work in the nonprofit sector. So I guess she succeeded. After applying for no less than 50 jobs following graduation, Mandy landed a position at Second Harvest Heartland at the age of 22. Over the course of her nearly 9 years with the organization, Maddie has served on 2 teams within development, helping to raise funds and awareness in support of hunger relief. When she isn't working, she's often chasing around her 2-year-old son and trying to turn the pages of a book when he lets her sit down. She is grateful for the opportunity to be here today. So join me in welcoming Maddie. Take it off, move it around.
Goodness gracious, I'm not that tall. Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you for allowing me to join you here today to introduce or perhaps reintroduce you to Second Harvest Heartland if you were here a year ago. Like Glenn said, my name is Maddie Archibald. In the spring, I will officially celebrate my 9-year anniversary with the food bank. And over those 9 years, I've had the privilege of not only seeing the growth in our scale and reach as an organization, but also in our efficiency and ingenuity. So very glad for the opportunity today to share with you what we do at Second Harvest Heartland, as well as the impact that our work makes in each community, a lot of which are represented here. Our service area really overlaps well with the clubs that are represented here today. I'm also going to share how each of you can get involved a little bit further, and I'll hope to leave time at the end for questions. I know we're on a tight schedule, but I'd love to hear from you if anything comes up. If anything I say brings up a question for you while I'm speaking, feel free to raise a hand and I'll let you interrupt for a moment. So as one of the largest, most innovative, and most efficient organizations in hunger relief across the nation, we feel immense responsibility to our communities facing food insecurity, as well as our partners beside us in this work. That's why our mission is to end hunger together. We know that it will take everyone in our community, our lawmakers, our donors, our volunteers, our advocates, to be able to accomplish food security for all Minnesotans. And we just simply know that we can't do any of our work alone. Second Harvest Heartland is a member food bank of the national organization Feeding America. They are a network of more than 200 food banks who cover all corners of the U.S. They provide food and support to more than 60,000 food pantries and all of those 200 food banks across the nation to be able to allow those organizations to direct support directly to their own communities and neighborhoods. As Minnesota's largest food bank, we are a unifier, bringing organizations and people together across the state to end hunger. We work closely with more than 1,000 hunger relief partners. Those are food shelves, meal programs, church pantries, and large-scale organizations across our service area who are each dedicated to keeping their own community fed. And they are represented by the green dots that you see here on this map. We also work closely with our food banks in the region to share products and combine efforts around policymaking to ensure hunger is increasingly understood and addressed in every community in the heartland. The main food banks that we work with are in the Feeding America network as well, and those are represented by the white pins that you see on this map. In 2024, Minnesota's Hunger Relief Network, so all of those food banks and food shelves and meal programs that you saw represented on these maps, we served 18% of households in the state. We depend on this outstanding group of partners to be able to do that work and keep up with the rising demand in our communities. Now let's get into how we live our mission every day. You can think of Second Harvest Heartland like a wholesaler for donated and rescued foods. Working with our network of partners, volunteers, and donors, we receive food in extremely large quantities, and those come from growers and farmers, manufacturers, retail centers, grocery stores, restaurants, hotels, really anywhere that has excess food that would otherwise go to waste or be unsold. And so then we receive and safely store all of that food in our 233,000 square foot facility in Brooklyn Park, Minnesota. And we work with a transportation team to distribute orders across our network of food shelf partners, nonprofit partners, and hunger relief programs. We serve 59 counties, and those are in, like you saw on the previous map, those are in most of central, western, southwestern Minnesota, as well as western Wisconsin. As you can see, we are serious about our commitment to getting more of the right food right where it's needed most. We're also making sure that food shelves get the fresh, culturally relevant foods that matter to their communities. In 2024, we sourced nearly 14 million pounds of protein, which is one of the most requested items at food shelves, which was almost 20% more than the year prior. We also... Thank you for that. Our produce sourcing was also up about 34% over the last year. So when we hear from our partners that their clients are needing a specific item, our sourcing team is on it, and they work really hard to get it at a cost that matters to our team and to our food shelf partners so that we can pass along what the community needs free of charge. You'll have to excuse me, I'm skipping over a couple slides. If you see anything that resonates there, feel free to stop me before I leave today. But I wanted to get to this because as a result of seeing, you could see in that chart how the need has gone up over time, our work has increased over time. It's because hunger is still incredibly prevalent here in Minnesota. And we recognize that the way things are going is not the way that we want them to be going. And so 2 years ago this month, Second Harvest Heartland and our partners embarked on a moonshot goal. And we came together with partners, neighbors, policymakers, and our fellow elected officials to announce Make Hunger History, which is our moonshot goal to cut hunger in half in the state of Minnesota by 2030. Throughout the 6-year initiative, we are thinking and working in the framework of food support stability. Food is and always will be at the center of what we do. We are the second largest food bank in the United States, and we distribute more than 155 million pounds of food every single year. Our Brooklyn Park facility is well equipped for this kind of capacity. We receive an average of about 20 truckloads of inventory every day. And we sort and repackage in our volunteer center and then get out via our transportation team all of those goods to our partners across our service area. And each day we're creating unique routes to make sure that we're getting the food to the partners who need it that day and to make sure that their communities have support where they need it. As for support, everyone deserves the comfort of knowing where their next meal will come from. We know that people who cannot afford to eat have trouble working. And we know that people who have trouble working often can't rely on daycare or they can't afford reliable transportation. It is really hard to get the food support you need when all of those other pieces aren't adding up either. And so our short-term goal is to make sure people have the resources they need to get through each day. Our long-term goal comes into the stability category, which is one of the newest in our frameworks. We've recognized that we can't just solve hunger for today. We have to solve it for tomorrow and the next day and the years to come. And so stability, when we talk about stability, we really mean being financially secure and able to afford groceries without food support. So that means getting to a place where you're no longer relying on a food shelf or SNAP or any other resources. You're able to be stable enough to support your family on your own. That is the end goal for for Second Harvest Heartland. And we're working every day to make sure we can get Minnesota to that place in the future. When we launched our Make Hunger History initiative, we committed to releasing annual report outs of our progress, not only to hold ourselves accountable in this important work, but also to share throughout the hunger relief system, but also with the public, the findings that we're coming across to keep us all more informed and better able to support our neighbors. So in 2024, Second Harvest Heartland partnered with Wilder Research to conduct the first ever statewide hunger survey. And I'm going to give you a very quick snippet of our findings. So 1 in 5 Minnesota households cannot afford the food they need and must rely on external support such as food shelves and SNAP to get the food that they and their families need. That is the definition of being food insecure. Additionally, we found that another 1 in 5 Minnesota households believes that in the next year, they could tip into the category of being food insecure. To get a clearer picture of how Minnesota households are faring, we look at food insecurity as 4 stops along a continuum. The emergency food system supports families at at stops 2 and 3, and we do that through food distributions and connecting them to federal nutrition programs such as SNAP. But like I talked about with that stability piece, we've identified that the move from stop 3 to stop 4 is our greatest area of opportunity in this goal. We know that organizations like Second Harvest Heartland and our food shelf partners are having to really adjust to meet the growing need. And we still aren't able to meet the demand that exists today. And so we know that it will require a total community effort to help Minnesota and make sure that our households are getting the food they need. Yeah, question over here. Yeah, Yep. That's a great question. So the question was about if we're partnering with other organizations and pillars of the community who work in other areas of need, such as housing, work development? And the answer is yes. We did start to recognize that we alone as a food bank can't answer hunger, because hunger is a result of so many other factors. And so in order to support everyone's needs, we have to go beyond their food needs. We have to be partnering with other organizations in the community that are looking at homelessness and job stability, and be able to really holistically work to solve the root issue of hunger. That's a great question. Thank you. Another finding, food insecurity can affect anyone, but it's not the same for everyone. Some of the highest rates of food insecurity are found in rural areas, and food insecurity disproportionately impacts people of color. By breaking down the data and viewing it through various demographic lenses, we can see a few notable trends emerge. The first is that racial disparities are significant, as only 60% of households of color are food secure versus 81% of households overall. Additionally, households in which English is not the primary spoken language, they face hunger at rates higher than households who primarily speak English. Another finding was that households with seniors or children present in the home are also more likely to be experiencing food insecurity. Furthermore, when we look at the data geographically, we can see that food insecurity is higher in southwestern and northern Minnesota, with 1 in 4 households in those regions experiencing food insecurity. By knowing that hunger is not felt evenly across the state, we are better able to address those geographic inequities and make sure that we're increasing support for families in those specific regions. So this data helped in a lot of ways, but one of the main takeaways it helped us gain was a more in-depth understanding of where the numbers of food insecurity are and how we can set a more defined goal for our Make Hunger History initiative. So we now know that with 80% of households being food secure, cutting hunger in half means bringing that number up to 90%. And this is not data that we look at lightly. Each of the last 4 years has brought record-breaking numbers of food shelf visits in our state. And at Second Harvest Heartland, we're seeing more and more days of record-breaking outbound orders. So we're packing up and delivering close to 500,000 pounds of food on a daily basis. And we know that that means hunger is going in the wrong direction, and we're going to have to work even harder as a community to make sure we're addressing the demand these days. With that in mind, I want to highlight a few key ways that each of you and your clubs can come to the table and get involved in our mission of ending hunger together. You can contribute by offering your voice, your time, your financial support to be able to make sure that you and your neighbors have enough to eat. First off, Second Harvest Heartland and our food shelf partners rely on volunteers. You can invite your friends, your family, your fellow club members to join you in volunteering at our food bank or at your local food shelf. At our Brooklyn Park facility, we host 18 to 20 volunteer shifts per week. Each of those shifts can accommodate up to 80 volunteers, which means that you can volunteer solo, with a small group, or with your entire club. We make it a really fun environment. I don't know, show of hands, has anyone volunteered at our food bank before? Amazing, love that. The team in there does a great job about engaging volunteers and making it a really meaningful experience. You'll learn your impact at the end of each shift, and they just make it a really welcoming environment. But we also offer opportunities beyond that. If you're looking for more ongoing volunteer work, we have what we call skills-based volunteer opportunities that commit to supporting our work on a regular basis, be it through adding capacity to a certain team, expanding skill sets, bringing your own knowledge and expertise to our teams, helping us in the end work more efficiently. Lastly, we encourage you to volunteer in your community through your own neighborhood food shelf. Many of our partners rely on volunteers to carry out food distributions, pre-pack meal kits, and greet shoppers in their space when they come to pick out food. Additionally, we really appreciate the community's financial support of local food banks and food shelves. Financial contributions help us secure and distribute healthy food. It helps us launch innovative hunger relief programming, advocate for sound policies, as well as connect neighbors to the full resources of our communities. So you can host a fundraiser or ask your networks to support hunger relief. We offer a virtual fundraising platform through our website that's open and available 365 days a year. You can also host a fundraiser offline. We've seen people do bake sales, backyard barbecues, or birthday parties where instead of gifts, your guests are making donations on your behalf to an organization of your choice. There's no way to not fundraise, that you can make it your own. We call it DIY fundraising. Another way is you can engage with any number of our events held throughout the year. One in particular we have coming up is our 17th annual End Hunger Together Radiothon, which we host in partnership with WCCO. That's coming up on Tuesday, February 3rd. Donations made that day can be matched up to 4-to-1 because of generous sponsors that we have participating in that day. Lastly, you can work with your current or former employer to make a match gift and make the impact of your giving go all the further. We have many corporate partners who will support their current or retired employees by contributing on their behalf when they make a donation to a cause that's meaningful to them. And that's such a special way to increase the impact of your giving. Lastly, we know that hunger cannot be eliminated by food distributions alone. That's why Second Harvest Heartland works with partners across Minnesota's emergency food systems and across sectors, to further programs and policies that work to support neighbors. We are working really hard to champion anti-hunger policies that will be an integral part of preventing hunger beyond today. You can get involved as an advocate by adding your name to our list of hunger fighting email recipients. We keep you up to date on our priorities. We invite you to educational trainings. We offer volunteer opportunities specific to advocacy, and we ask you to mobilize around timely issues. Next, reach out to your legislators. We are coming up on a really important legislative session at the end of January into, I think, April or May. And we need your support to ask legislators to further anti-hunger policies. It's a really crucial piece of knowing that we alone as a food bank can't solve the issue of hunger we're seeing today. And the last one is easy. It's just talk about the issue of hunger. I'd like to invite you to have conversations over your dinner table tonight with whoever is sitting there with you. Call up a friend and tell them what you learned today. Talk with your club about what takeaways you have. Simply talking about the issue of hunger can increase the number of people that are at the table, metaphorically, but also it helps those who are facing food insecurity feel more seen just by the fact that we're all talking about it. With that, I want to say a huge thank you for welcoming me today. This new year, each of you has the opportunity to make an impact on hunger relief in your own communities. This is such a far-reaching group. Imagine if we all showed up at the table in 2026 to feed our neighbors. Thank you so much for your time, and I'm happy to take any questions if there are more at this time. Yeah. Thank you. No, we are not. I'm not sure. We're primarily associated with Feeding America, which is the national organization that we fall under, and then we work very locally within our own service area. Yep.
I have just a quick question.
Yeah.
What does a food shelf, what criteria do they have to meet to be able to have you service them?
Oh, that's a great
and
question.
secondly, what do the food shelves that you service, what do they pay for the food you bring?
Yep. Yeah, both great questions. So we, like I said, we work with nearly 1,000 hunger relief programs. I would say about 350 of those are classified as food shelves, and they vary widely in scale and size. I don't know the particular requirements. I know they are on our website, and we have an entire partner relations team that works directly to onboard new food shelves. So that would be something that their team or our website could better answer than I can. In terms of cost, food shelves do pay for the food that they get from us. It is pennies on the dollar for what you and I would pay if we went to the grocery store to buy it, because of the resources and the network that we have for sourcing food. So there are some items that we've recently made, and recently I mean in the last couple of years, we've made free of charge. Dairy and produce were a couple of them, because we were noting that those items in particular were so important to the people being served at those food shelves that we just couldn't justify charging for them. We needed them to be made available to the food shelves that we're so desperately seeing a need for them. There are other items that unfortunately, if you're seeing a cost hike on, so are we as a food bank. Eggs in particular is such a great example that the last 3 years, our sourcing team has had quite the upward battle of trying to source eggs at cost that is meaningful and cost effective for our organization and for those we serve. The reality is a lot less of our food shelf partners are ordering eggs right now because the cost is something that we cannot cover for them right now. So that's just an example of how our sourcing team is really working to make sure that the cost makes sense for our organization, but also that we're able to pass on a decent price for our food shelf partners.
This morning at my gas station, 2 blocks from where I live, there was 3 ICE squads, and they're doing raids all over Minneapolis. And the food pantries are not considered safe sites. So I just want to lift up that there's a lot of immigrants who are afraid, who are hungry, and they're not going to the food pantries because they're afraid that ICE is going to be.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. The recent ICE raids have been a huge topic of conversation at the food bank for us. We know that with grocery stores being targeted, food shelves are likely next, which is a really unfortunate situation for people who are desperately needing food. So we at the food bank are talking about how to better support partners right now, whether we can offer in-home delivery, whether we can offer any of our resources to our food shelf partners to make sure that they have capacity to meet those needs and adjust as needed. When the pandemic hit in 2020, our organization and our partners were very quick to adjust based on the cultural needs and the needs of our communities, and we will do that again as needed. Thank you for that.
My club in Wabasha is very supportive of our local food bank, and we can see the results and the impact that we have. How could I convince my board to make a donation to your organization when they would see the need in our community and prefer to see the money where it ends up and it stays in the community?
Yep, absolutely. I'm going to probably go against the grain and be what some people might refer to as a bad fundraiser by saying I would not encourage you to redirect your fundraising to Second Harvest if you are already making a meaningful impact in your community through an organization that's important to you. If there's interest in exploring partnership with Second Harvest Heartland, I would love to come meet your group. I would love to send you resources that are helpful. But if you're already making a great impact locally, do not feel like you need to redirect to Second Harvest.
And one final question.
I actually don't have a question, but I wanted to share what Wabasha Rotary does. Sharon had just mentioned that we do contribute to our local food share. It's about Little Wabasha, 2,500 people. It's around $7,000 or $8,000 a month. And the Star of Hope, which KK is orchestrating, and we have a little booth over there, they decided they were going to donate with the matching. And I convinced the board to also
make double our donation, our annual donation. And then thirdly, I went to the membership and I asked the membership to match what the board did. And as a result, we were able to do 1 month, over $7,000 to our food pantry.
Incredible.
Who's next?
Thank you all so much for your engagement today and the time you took to listen. If you have further questions, I left a couple cards with Glenn. Otherwise, I know he can pass along my contact information as well. Thank you so much. Have a good rest of your day.
Well, now we're going to finish with a few district projects, talk about them. And the first will be District Governor nominee Lonnie.
Thanks, Glenn. Okay, show of hands. How many people have heard of Crutches for Africa? Okay, I'm done. No, really, just 2 minutes on Crutches for Africa, though, because many of you do know it. Simple project, right? Millions of Africans need mobility devices, crutches, walkers, wheelchairs. We have them sitting in our basements and garages. Our job is to collect them and then work with Crutches for Africa to get them into the country. And I think the reason this project resonates with so many people is that it's a very simple concept and it's physical and visual. People can see it happening. These are clubs across the district last year collecting things for Crutches for Africa. And we had a really big impact last year. This was a district grant foundation funded project last year. Had a lot of impact, had a lot of community visibility, and it engaged a lot of clubs, a lot of members, and a lot of community members. So what a cool project to be able to do all those different things. So the most important slide that I have for you is this one. I'm not leading Crutches for Africa this year. I'm sitting in for Bill. Bill Leonard is from Stillwater Sunrise also. He graciously took leadership of this project, but he wasn't available. He's out of town today, so I guess I'm going on to the next project. But so Bill wanted me to just share with you, we are doing a district-wide project. There was a demand for this because it went so well last year to do it this year. There's going to be a collection event happening in the April timeframe. In addition to Bill, Joanne Rosner from Rochester Risers and Susan Young from Forest Lake are on the leadership team of this. You can get a hold of any of the three of them if you want to be part of this.
Thanks. But I think one of the keys, we're doing a good job of, we had stuff left last year in storage that didn't fit in a 40-foot container. And there's probably going to be more than we can send based on what we've been hearing from clubs. But one thing we do need from clubs is, since this is not grant funded this year, is cash. So even if you can pass the hat at a meeting and collect $100 or whatever, because what is it, Lonnie, at $12,000 for a container to get it to Africa? 10, 12. So that's cash that we have to raise somehow from clubs. So appreciate you considering this as a district project that your club participates in. Next district project is, I hope you've heard of, is our LIFT project. And it's where economic development in Central America, more than a project, it's a program. And I know Rick is very passionate about it and been engaged for a long time. And this needs help from clubs too. We ask clubs to donate every year on a voluntary basis, and some clubs step up, but we could always use more resources.
Great, thanks, Glenn. And I realize I'm between here now and everybody leaving on time, so I will do the best here. So do we have? So I will be talking about the LIFT program, not a project, but a program for clarification. But one of the things to kind of set the stage here for the discussion is that Rotary is about big efforts. If you look at the 7 areas of focus, they're big efforts. We're trying to rid the world of polio. We're after maternal health. We're trying to do climate action in the world. They're big things that are difficult things to do. And so this is where the LIFT program comes from, because what we're trying to do is address poverty. And so if everybody understands what poverty is in the world, poverty is a big problem. Maddie was just talking about helping feed people in Minnesota. People in Minnesota can't eat because they're poor, because they don't have the resources to buy the food to feed themselves. And this is a critical, critical need. But the bottom line comes from poverty. So what is poverty? And so if you look at the definition, is basically, you know, they talk in terms of not having a sufficient amount of money or material possessions. So what does that mean? If you look in the other definitions for the World Bank, from a global perspective or from the U.S. government perspective, it's economic. In global, it's less than $2.15 a day, you're extremely poor. In the U.S. is if it's one person less than $15,000 a year, $1,200 a month. Anybody here can live on $1,200 a month in the U.S. today? Okay, so that's really, really hard. These are the people that cannot afford livelihoods, that cannot afford transportation, cannot afford housing, cannot afford to eat. Okay? And so the newer definition, though, is what they talk about is deprivation of basic capabilities. And so this is where, what are your basic capabilities? And so you need to go back into, from the old days, the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And so you need to talk about your health, your food, your sleep. Kind of hard to see the red there. And so what poverty is that it's really a composite of the deprivation of basic needs along with a lack of resources to satisfy those basic needs. And so you don't fix the problem by giving somebody to satisfy their needs because they can't sustain it. They don't have the capability to maintain those needs after you give it to them. And so we need to talk about the economic resources to meet and sustain those needs. So what makes us poor? Where do poor people come from? Okay? Depends on where you're born. Depends on your race and ethnicity. Maddie was talking about that. Depends on your education or lack of, your social status, and even natural disasters. Personal, if somebody has an emergency surgery and no insurance, they're poor in the United States these days, right? And so many people all around the world are natural disasters. If somebody has a hurricane that wipes out their community, what are they going to do? Okay? So generally, poverty is not a personal choice. We need to get past that. Poor people need assistance to help bring them out of poverty. It's not something that anybody chooses upon themselves. Let's say, so we work in the LIFT program, we operate in Nicaragua. So what does poverty in Nicaragua look like? Well, first, based on the World Bank at $2.15 a day, some individuals might work at a free trade factory that are in typical in Central America. What do they make? About $100 a month. $100 a month to feed, to support their family. That's if they have a job, if they can get to their job. The rest of the people where we work in rural Nicaragua is if you're growing crops, subsistence crops to live on. So where does the money come from those crops? Think about that. It comes from the harvest. Well, how many times do they harvest? Once or twice a year. So they have a bit of money once or twice a year, and then the rest of the year, they have nothing because there's no income in rural Nicaragua. Is they get their income from what they can grow and what they can sell, but they harvest and sell it once or twice a year. And so they have nothing the rest of the year. So, but even the households that have $2.15 a day, they don't have safe drinking water, they don't have sanitation, they don't have electricity, they don't have housing, schooling, and access to health care. Nicaraguan households are not necessarily income poor every day. That's where we need to change the definition. But they are structurally poor every day of the year. Okay? 25% of the country is living in poverty with 2/3 less than $120 a month. 20% of the population, over 1 million people, are suffering from hunger, food insecurity and hunger right now. Remittances. Does everybody know what a remittance is? This is when people leave poor areas and go to somewhere else. They go to Costa Rica, they go to Mexico, they go to the U.S. They get a job, they send money home. We talk about migration and the problem with migration. Remittances amount, this is the money they send back home. In Nicaragua amounts to over 25% of the GDP. 25% of the country's income, of their wealth, comes from people not in the country that are working somewhere else and sending it there. This is how poor the country is. So what do you do about it? You can do a whole lot of stuff. You can give people stuff. You can do a whole lot of stuff. So what works? You generally go to, these are kind of, well-known books and principles. End of Poverty by Sachs, Poor Economics by Banerjee, Development is Freedom, White Man's Burden. The two that stand out primarily that people like to reference is The End of Poverty and White Man's Burden. The problem is they come from totally different perspectives. So which one is right? End of Poverty by Sachs is the Marshall Plan, what happened in Europe. Big countries, big organizations pushing a lot of money down, top down, helping bring everybody up with a lot of investment. Okay? Poor Economics is micro solutions, evidence-based, development is freedom, dignity from the people being impacted, and White Man's Burden is local, ground up, incentivized community development. And so what we've taken on from the LIFT program is kind of a hybrid. You take the best of any of those and try to find out. We've been working in Nicaragua for over 10 years, try to find out what works. And what we found out that works is create income-generated livelihoods, create community-owned infrastructure, create skills and governance training, and create season smoothing mechanisms. And that's what helps bring people up in a sustainable way that are poor. Okay, so how the LIFT program works. We are part of RAGSED. So I'm a member of RAGSED. If you're not familiar, it's the Rotary Action Group for Community Economic Development. Economic development is one of the 7 areas of focus in Rotary. So what we do is we go after the causes and not the symptoms. It helps. If you do community economic development, this is what you get. It sustains all of your other needs. We did a water project where we put the community in charge of that, where they receive income from the people in the community for the water that they use. We haven't been in that community supporting them with $1 for 3 years because they are self-sufficient now. Avoids dependency aid fatigue. Thank you. And so how many people are tired of another aid organization coming and asking for money? Okay. We all are. Okay, so how do you break the cycle? Is you need to create where people are more self-sufficient and need you less. It's all about people needing you less. And so respects the dignity and agency. We're not paternalistic. We don't have the solutions for people in Central America. They have a right to their own personal dignity and respect also. Strengthens social institutions. What kind of social institution is it when half your family is working in Costa Rica? Or migrated to the U.S. And so you keep the families together in social situations and create economic gains, which lead to better education and health. The structural realities in Central America, it's seasonal income, vulnerability to climate shocks. Even these people that have subsistence farming, they lose their crops regularly because of differences in rain patterns and things like that are happening. Weak public service, you can't rely on the government. And short-term aid projects, the NGOs are part of the problem, because the short-term aid NGOs are there to give handouts, and they're teaching people that this is how you're going to make it to tomorrow, rather than helping people get ahead on their own. So we need your support. This is not a project. It doesn't have a start and a finish. This is ongoing. It's a big problem, and you can't solve big problems with simple solutions. So what we need is we need to build relationships with communities. We have people on staff every single day going into the communities and working with them. We have to pay them monthly salaries. We have to pay their transportation to go into the communities. So we need to build relationships. We need to find the community's strengths and opportunities. We have to experiment. We don't have a silver bullet to go in the community and say, you got to go do this and it's going to fix all your problems. We need to learn from the community and do what's going to work for them. That takes time and that takes money. We listen, inquire, facilitate, and transform. LIFT is actually an acronym. And it stands for that, is Listen, Inquire, Facilitate, and Transform. It's a program, not a project. It's an ongoing program that needs our ongoing support. So how do we do that? Schedule a presentation for your clubs. Every president in the district should have gotten an email from Dave Newman about scheduling an annual update for the LIFT program. If you don't have it, stop at my booth over here after the meeting, and I can get you signed up with your email to get you on the calendar. And there's a lot going on the program, a lot of successes, a lot of exciting things going on that we can share with your club. Submit your pledge. This is an ask. It's a little over $1 a month per member. Okay, that's won't even buy you the creamer in your coffee these days. We talk about, and so $15 a member a year. You can do it any way. You can have the club, but working in your budget. You can pass a hat once a year. You can skip a meal. This is where this program started with Fast for Hope. Skip a meal once a year. Take the money in that meal and give to the program. But we need your support. We can't do this without your support. Communicate. Make sure your clubs know what we're doing. Make sure they've heard of the program. Make sure they know what the impact is. And get involved. We had a group. We can join our advisory council. We're always looking for people to join our group effort. But you can also go on a trip to Nicaragua. We had a trip in March of last year. We're hoping to schedule another group trip in late 2026, early 2027. Come down, visit the communities, visit our partners that are working down there, see the impact that's happening, see what the people are actually accomplishing. It's a pretty simple trip, but come and join us. And with that, that's all I have. I don't know if we have time. If we don't have time for questions, I will be around at the booth for a few minutes. Please stop by and let me know.
Yeah, we got a couple minutes.
We have a couple minutes? Okay, great. Any questions? Margie. Yeah, that's in the annual presentation. So great point is that as we go into communities, we went from, in the last 4 years, we've gone from 1 community to 5 communities now that we're working in. So it's between 2,000 and 3,000 people totally in these communities. And what we developed is that some of these rural communities, they do subsistence farming. And so we brought in our own agronomists that we have to pay for. And we've worked on crop yield improvement and diversification in terms of teaching them to grow market value crops that we can sell, that they can create revenue. And the top one has been turmeric, if you're familiar with turmeric. And last year we ran our first pilot. We had 11 producers growing turmeric for us. This year that's already gone to 18 farmers. They're hearing about it. The farmers are excited about growing this. And it's been a really positive. We're actually building, we inaugurated a processing center that it's a corporation that the LIFT program has supported, the district has supported, and we're going to when we buy that turmeric, we're going to process it, distribute it, sell it, and then the money goes back into the program. So it's a big accomplishment this year. Yes, ma'am. Right. Yeah, we were in a community last year. You got your great details. So one community we were working in last year is they grow red beans. They're subsistence farming. They grow beans, wheat, corn, and rice. Basically, that's what they live on. So beans are their primary source of protein. They have 2 bean crops a year for the Nicaraguan red beans. Both crops failed last year because of the changing in the rain patterns. And so where did they were, so now they're food insecure. And because of our program, these same farmers that were growing turmeric lost their beans, earned between $400 and $500 for the turmeric, which compensated for their loss of beans. And so we basically, filled in the gap that these farmers had on the loss of their crop. And so again, this is where the sustainability of the communities come from. Thanks, Margie.
Thanks, Rick.
Yeah. Okay.
Does anybody have any idea when the Rotary Convention, where the Rotary International Convention will be in 2028? Well, immediate past District Governor Ed, who's on the board for the host organizing committee, will share a few things with us.
All right. Well, just a couple of minutes ago, you probably saw all the slides go, so I'm pretty much done with this. Could we go back to the beginning, Sean? Somewhere. There we go. That's close enough. I'm Ed Bovey, your past district governor. Some of you might remember last year. But I am on the board of the host organizing committee for the 2028 Rotary Convention. And in our history, we'll see if this works. 1928 was the first time we whoa, what's happening, Sean? There we go. This is 2028 will be the 100-year anniversary. What is going on, Sean? I guess I have to talk fast. All right. It'll be the 100-year anniversary from when we hosted the first international convention. So that's kind of cool. Incidentally, I have like 4 minutes here, and this is a 25-minute presentation. So what I'll say first is that if anybody would like to bring this presentation to your club, I'd be happy to do that, or have one of our other members bring this to your club to talk about all the opportunities we have. My goodness, Sean, what's going on here? I'm not touching it, I promise. Well, now we're to the end. I guess we're done. Anyway, what you have on your table is something that wouldn't fit on a PowerPoint. It's the organizational chart for our host organizing committee. And so the first thing I'll say is we are looking for volunteers to serve on one of these teams. The leadership group is pretty much put together, but we're looking for people who would have interest and passion to help us pull off this 28 convention. It's a huge deal. Our goal and our intent is to have this be the best international convention ever. And that's going to happen, right? But it happens if all of us pitch in and make that happen. And so that's the real appeal today. There are many opportunities to participate in this activity. The first and one of the big things that your club can participate in is the host hospitality night. It's Monday night. In 2028, it will happen to be Memorial Day. It's a day that's not celebrated around the world too much. And so we'll have an opportunity to host the world on that night. Your club and your community will be invited, and I'm inviting you today to put together an activity where you will host anywhere from 50 to 300 Rotarians from around the world, either in your members' homes or in some part of your community that can host a group of people. There'll be much more information that's going to come on this, but that'll be a great way for your club and your community to get involved. There are a number of signature events. How many people here just have been to an international convention before? Okay, so many of you. So I don't have to tell you what the signature events are. We will be involved in those events, and it'll be an opportunity again for us to show off our area in our community. The House of Friendship. Okay, we're done with the slides, I guess. The House of Friendship is another area where we will be showing off parts of our, okay, we're there. So you've been at the House of Friendship before, many of you, but it's an area that will take many volunteers from our area. And incidentally, we have about 6 districts who are participating with us. So us, the Minneapolis district, all of Minnesota, really, all of South Dakota, much of Wisconsin, all of Iowa, we're all working together to make this convention great. And so it'll be a chance for you to work together with people from around our area to make this thing really go. Another thing that'll be something that doesn't happen at every international convention, but that we're going to pull off, is we're going to offer some daytime tours. We've talked already with people, things like the Mayo Clinic, like the Eagle Center, and don't think of just the metropolitan, anywhere within really 100 miles or so of this area where people may want to go for a day tour. Think about that. You'll be able to host folks from around the world and show off your own community in that way. And then finally, and things we think of, the actual convention itself. We will be recruiting about 1,000 volunteers, people that can be what are called human arrows, to just point, to stand somewhere and point and say, go that way. And lots of things that are less complicated than that. But we need about 1,000 people during this actual convention itself to just help get people where they need to be during that time. And so there are many, many opportunities for you and your club and your community to participate to make this the best convention ever. Another opportunity that's coming up soon that I just found out about this morning. If I can get it up. There we go. The City of Lakes Rotary in Minneapolis is actually hosting Larry Lunsford, who will be the Rotary International President in 27-28. And they're inviting all of us to come and have breakfast with him. So put this on your calendar. It's February 11th. It will be at, let me see here. It's at the Minneapolis Club from 7 to 9 on February 11th. It'll give you a chance to meet the Rotary International President. We also want to impress him on that date. The goal of that event is to have 300 people there to shake his hand, to make sure that he knows that we're all in on this international convention. And so there'll be information that's going to come out in the next week that'll include some registration material and some information for you. And we hope many of you will choose to attend that event. So does anybody have any questions? I hope you've heard something in the last 5 minutes that will allow you to plug in to make this event just a great time for all of us. So thank you.